Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I welcome everyone today and thank you for joining us today's webinar. And my name is Vishnu and I'm the product sales lead at Chainsys. And Chainsys is 20 years old technology and a solution company with a strong focus on data management products. And today we are presenting Destination ERP Business Data presented by T. Rajendran, who's the head of Center of Excellence. And just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your GoToWebinar and in control panel. So I'll bring them up during the presentation, and we will also have a time for the questions at the end. So now, without a further ado, we will turn the time over to the Rajendran. Rajendran, it's all yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Vishnu. Thanks and welcome everyone. Let's just start straight away on to our destination ERP. Uh, Enterprise resources planning is a word now. We don't even expand. We always talk about ERP and ERP all the time. There was a time where ERP was held as a major one, and in between they dropped the word, and again the word has come. Long back, more than 2 decades back, we had things like manufacturing resources planning 2, MRP2, to rename it instead of calling materials requirements planning. And that time the focus was only on manufacturing resources. Soon they felt for the entire enterprise, we need 5M. It is main, machine, material, market, money, right? So that's why they call enterprise resources planning, and then they included all the HR and financials onto that. Now, in our destination, in any organization, when they want to implement ERP, they will like to have certain characteristics of their destination, right? How beautiful, how nice, how wonderful it is. The first one is they will like to have totally automated. Now, believe me, it is possible for this automation with the current existing ERP today. Mostly we are talking about two major products, two vendors, I will say. They have got multiple products, either SAP or Oracle. And it's possible to have a total end-to-end integration right from start to end, and also having an extended supply chain. Typical example is if you take any of your laptops, the components are manufactured somewhere across the globe, and they are all assembled or manufactured, and then it is distributed worldwide in a different time. Any change to that, it's triggered automatically and goes through that. I have personally seen such kind of total automation. Also, in any of the ERP implementation, the main thing which everybody is concerned about is to have run their business as usual without any disturbance. The waste management, one of the largest, the companies in that, they were telling me, the VP was telling me, look, I don't carry anything except my invoice should not stop. So smooth transition is one of the top management's requirement on any kind of a destination where I go and comfortably live there. And it should sustain the growth, means basically it should be able to fit into any new business model. It can be new partners, like you might suddenly go for a partners, or you may go for subcontracting. The business models may change, and accordingly this should fit into that. And also ERP, when you talk about it, you need to talk about both global and local requirements, whether is it with respect to laws or with respect to salary and other benefits. So there are a lot of local requirements as well as there are global requirements. So localization is an important key aspect in ERP. And user experience, of course, it has gone through several rounds. We have talking about user adoption and everything. What I would like to point out is today all the ERP vendors are trying to give a lot of dashboards, and still at the same time people do take certain reports, and they are still relying on certain reports which are custom made, right? And people sometimes they operate silo. It is not their mistake. You have to understand users totally different. That is what I will not call it as a user experience. It's basically understanding users in a different way, because there's quite a lot of number of users are involved in any ERP implementation. And obviously another interesting thing they would like to have is a meaningful insight which comes out of the entire data which gets generated in the ERP, and they would like to have it data driven from the source. They would like to take it, and that's why you are talking about now IoT and big data, where wherever it's possible they would like to take from the source. A typical example is how you talk about a scanning and then you capture all the records right at the scanner itself. Without much into that, let's see what is ERP about. The first thing that comes to my mind about ERP is this diagram. It is huge. And second is the perceptions vary greatly. People talk about, when you go close to this, you may feel that these are all pillars and these are all like, a rope. But if you want to really look at what is ERP, you have to stand far away. You have to stand aside. You have to be outside the system to view what is inside the system. Second way of looking at the ERP is it has got several things. You can have modular way and it's all integrated. So it's literally putting all these puzzles together. The more the granular, the more the things about. But the functionality comes only by being granular. That means the more the detail that you go to the detail level, that is how it comes into that, right? Now, that puts us into a different picture, which is very important. If you want to really understand, or if you want to unfold ERP, you have to have a top-down approach, right? Top-down, and then further level, break it up into further level. At the same note, to see it at a granular level. Higher level is equally important. Granular level is also equally important. This is where it gets into a lot of conflicts during implementation, during all other things. Typically, I have come across two simple cases, a real life thing. One was with UNESCO Publishing, where the project manager said that there is something which is going wrong and he was not sure. The entire team, when I spoke to, I was totally as an independent person, like I came from PeopleSoft. So when we talked about to him, that everybody said everything is going fine, including the project manager feels it was fine, but he said something was wrong. So what we did was we just took him aside, and then 2 hours we had on a whiteboard, just put it across, and the entire process we could see at a high level that it is possible to send books without invoicing the customer. That's period. That stopped the discussion. So 2 hours the discussion got stopped. And then coming to a granular functions, the same thing, how it can affect. I'll go to this example where if you take a typical supply chain management, it has got two major components. One is the supply planning, another is the execution. The planning is generally, you can talk about demand planning, production planning, supply planning. How in this particular planning, that example I am telling you is from Walker Associate from Charlotte. They are into a company where their main customers are only three, like Lucent, AT&T, and those kind of a customer, Intel. But their supplier base is huge, more than 30,000, 3 lakh suppliers, or sorry, I will say 300,000 suppliers. So they source it from all the small components, right from resistors to everything. And then they finally deliver it to three customers. What happened was the entire thing went fine. But in between, while uploading certain data, instead of yearly consumption, they put into the monthly consumption figure that was entered wrongly. And in the process, the stock piled up without anybody's knowledge. Everybody felt that something is going wrong, right? But the stock was piling up, and more than $1 million raw material, I will not say raw material, $1 million worth of inventory got piled up, right? Then quickly we cleared it out. Now that is something which is granular, right? So you need to look at both when it comes to ERP at a high level as well as a low level simultaneously. But in broad aspects, the coming to the term why ERP was not taken that much is people were very comfortable with supply chain management, the word, because most of the companies, the entire idea was that they would like to have as thin pipeline as possible, a lean supply chain. That means whatever comes from the supplier that goes out should be as thin as possible. So that was the clear-cut objective on that. So for quite some time, when they were busy implementing supply chain as a whole, they were busy calling it supply chain. Now they are all done. So most of them are talking about major human resources, financials, and supply chain. Those companies where manufacturing is not important, we also talk about supply chain fulfillment, where it may not go through this logic, it may go through a totally different logic. It can be a service industry where you may serve something, which is basically you are fulfilling something to the customer so that you can go ahead and invoice for that. And also where costing becomes important, or they would like to put certain things, all pieces together and schedule it and then run it over a period of time. Typically, example is to execute a project, right? So those kind of things, you also have projects which are planning module, execution modules like that. In financials, of course, we have got including fixed assets, AP, AR, GL, lot of modules are available from both these vendors. Similarly, on the human resources, important thing is how much of customization that has been carried out on all this, or customization which they require it. Today, it's very easy to customize, and that also makes it, on one side, it's good and bad in terms of functionalities, as well as what you like to maintain. In the cloud, it becomes much more easier. So customizations are there. It's not like it should not be done. And there are industries where it typically doesn't fall into the manufacturing. You also have verticals that are subscription management, typically oriented for telecom. So the entire ERP today, it's fully filled with functionalities which can meet from end to end, almost all, right? And then you have second level, there is nothing, right? There are only two vendors, major vendors who offer all this. Unfortunately, both of them are now in a position to offer them in cloud too. It's not enough to see only the functionality because you are talking about an isolated module. When you talk about a business process, you talk about running across the modules. Typically something like an order to cash, that the customer's order is received and checked in inventory whether it's fulfilled or not. If it is not available, whether you make a production order or you make a transfer order from some other inventory, which may trigger something on supply, right? And finally, once you have been shipped, then you would like to bill the customer, you will receive the payment and also record it in the general ledger. Now, this is typically a order to cash business process at a very high level. Similarly, you may have plan to produce, or some people call it as a design to deploy, if you are talking about configuring the product and then deploying it at the instance, not just produce it alone. Or something on the supplier side, you also have procure to pay. On the repair and case management, you have case to close. On the human resources, you have got enter to exit, right from the applicant applies for a job to the time they retire, and then still their benefits are taken care of. Similarly, every other information is getting recorded into that. So you have to look at business processes to see across the modules. And these are all, again, very matured, well set. But to the level at which you talk about, to the granularity you talk about, that is where the difference comes. Who does what? If I just simply have it, this is all process flow. To call it as a business process flow, you need to add the user there, right? Which user adds what value at what instance, right? If you keep on having that change, then you'll be able to figure it out, and accordingly to the respective users, you'll be able to offer this. This is what is about the business processes which needs to be done, but as you keep digging, sometimes you will find it's much more huge. There are cases on which some granular things you will do, certain things you will do at a high level. So simultaneously, you must be able to look at it at a high level business process and a low level business process. They may have conflicting objectives, conflicting integration requirements, right? Why do customers need to go for this? Today, all the major companies, couple of reasons are there. Either they already have, but they have acquired some other company. The mergers and acquisitions is one key reasons for them to look at ERP again. Or the major business model changes, or in terms of revamping, upgrading. I'm talking about in terms of not the technical upgrade, I'm talking about any functionality upgrade. Or if they feel certain things which they have learned over a period of time, they would like to correct it. Now, or they feel the current systems are not adequate. So this makes it an interesting point about the current operation, right? Where it could be a combination of several things. Maybe they are already running an ERP which is functionally extremely good. It may be migrating from SAP to Oracle or Oracle to SAP. Their current system, one of their subsidiary may be running end-to-end totally automated system. But in order that every other companies, they have to follow the same path, they may like them to migrate to another totally ERP vendor between this vendor itself. That's very much possible. And also sometimes you have legacy systems, which may be right from BON or JD Edwards, because JD Edwards and all the focus was only on manufacturing. It was not really like in enterprise level, right? And similarly, localizations could have been done at different places, customizations could have been different, and people may be following some workarounds. So all these things are quite possible along with that. And the business process, if you really look at it, that may be non-standard, it can be varied, it can be silo. The third point, which is our interest of topic today, is the data. We are talking about master or slow changing data, transaction data. Reference data is what we call list of values or pick list or translate or drop down list, or a whole lot of historical data which has been collected all these times. Let's see how do we manage this data. On one side, you have a ERP solution which is configured to the way the destination you would like to have, assuming even though it's so large, people have, the team works on it and clears out all the processes, users and all. You have an idea about how you would like to have either automation or this or a combination of all that. Your underlying data should help to achieve your vision. This underlying data, sometimes it gets missed out because people simply think it's migration is taking a data and dumping it. So if you take a data and dump it, then you don't reach your destination the way you would like to have. You have a destination, but it is not up to your expectation. Let's look at the slow changing data. Slow changing data can be something like customer, products, assets, and all. Each one has got their own characteristics. Today, it becomes so important. The vendors themselves give a customer hub and product hub. And if you look at from the source, the volumes are very high. It can come from multiple sources, different formats. There can be duplicates, they may need cleaning, and there can be multiple hierarchies which are involved, even in the source itself. And as far as the destination goes, the customer hub talks about a very complex structure, a complex schema, where you can identify an account by a party or account, which can be a customer or a consumer or a franchise, and they may be having things like sold to, built to, shipped to, installed at, and that may be related to their addresses and contacts. You can have different contact types, and they can be common, may be attached with an account or may not be with that. And they may have a different relationships. Each one may have their own hierarchies. So this kind of a complex schema, which is talks about on the customer part. If you take on the product part, that is equally much more important, because everything like an item or a product, a finished goods, a raw material, work in process, along with whatever kits, models, everything is loaded into that item master. And similarly, if you talk about bill of material, it can be just not a simple bill of material. It may have its own variances. One may be required for production. There may be totally a different bill of material which may require for selling. There is a different bill of material you may require it for your product life cycle management, right? So you may have multiple the same data which can be represented in multiple different ways, and it has to be stored differently, but they are masters at different times. It has to come correctly. Now on the assets part, if you really look at it, assets has got totally a different one. Most of the things becomes like exterior data. You may not have the corresponding serial numbers or assets which were sold long back. Just to give an idea about this, once I had a discussion with the vice president of Ericsson. I was totally going as a different person, obviously, and the salespeople have sold everything, and then when they were talking all that, said, "What do you want to do?" So we just talked about all the presentation. End of the thing, she asked me, "I have one question. Then who are all my customers?" And I said, "It may probably take you 4 to 6 months to decide that." And they did that. They went and then they understood where all the data gets distributed, and this is all over the place. And they visualized that these are all things which they need to correct, and this kind of a cleansing they have to do before really getting into a proper MDM, right? Proper master data, they call it. Because without that, the underlying base itself is you are not taking your destination correctly. The foundation is not good, right? So they took 4 to 6 months to make sure that in their business process everything is cleared. Once it's done, then the tool works out. That is a different story. You look at transactions. Typically, this is the end result destination transactions. Most of them are one to many, right? You have a sale order which can have multiple lines, multiple schedules, and each shipment can have multiple shipment. For each shipment, you may have multiple invoices on which customers may pay multiple payments, and that will be posted into multiple general ledgers, multiple JVs in the general ledger, right? So you have a chain of one to many relationships right running through. And these things are all very well defined in the destination. But however, your current system, most of them will be either broken or partial or manual. It will stop here, it will end there. And from there, it will start, another one will start there. So somebody has to marry between this and this. When I take, look, this status and this status, is that correct to have the chain done or not? And so mapping of the current status along with this transaction and that, and similarly, what kind of historical data you would like to have it. This comes over a period of testing it and then doing the transformation and then doing the migration. So if I would like to see this destination reaching it and putting it in simple terms with respect to the business data, you would like to visualize, cleanse, validate, extract data. You would like to establish master data. It can be customer, product, assets, something which is major, voluminous, which all modules simultaneously use it. It has to be centrally controlled or monitored or managed. So those are the things. And then we have tools for managing this. You have an option to keep it instead of what the customer offered. You can have you can have a changes tool basically. The idea about most of the ERP vendors in the beginning, they had their own MDMs. They had their MDMs, they had their problems because it was not looked from that angle. It was looked more from just a repository. And in terms of migrating the data, you would like to do all the cross references with the masters, which is already loaded, and transform it and then migrate it. Things like typical things like packing, the options to pack, freight options. This may be at the customer level, maybe at the product level, or a combination level. And these kind of a thing may be captured at the beginning or may be captured at the time of shipping. So if the process is silo, if the users are silo, it's quite likely the users may say, this is not required. And we have cases like that where people clear out saying that only this many values are required and somebody else needs a different value at different point of the time down the line. And archiving data is equally important for ERP. What to keep, how long to keep, in what format to keep, and most importantly, how can you search for what is already there, right? That's important thing for archival. And because of the volume and because they need to carry the history for some time, they will also like to do certain analytics on that. They may have some other options like creating a data lake or having some other Hadoop or some other database on which you would like to store this. And similarly, for reasons like licensing cost and other aspects, they may like to have analytics separately on a cloud than part of ERP. Because on one side, you've got enough thing to handle within ERP itself. So putting more and more load onto whether in MDM or this lake, the data aspects into that, you find it too difficult rather. The best way to do that is during the implementation cycle, right from the beginning itself, you associate your strategy on data, how you will handle master transaction references, and take care of it. And not only just to test the functionality part of it, test the data part of it, how it has to, you would like to see it in your destination. With that way, you will be able to figure out certain diamonds in this, which may have a major impact on the business itself. So what did we achieve by doing all this? Automation, end-to-end integration. Now, end-to-end integration, if wrongly making certain integrations has got a serious problem. So, but in any aspects, and end-to-end integration is a key in any ERP, and a smooth transition to that, meeting the global and local needs, and making sure that all your list of values references are capable of handling any kind of a business, and make sure that people are comfortable on handling the users, because users, most of them will be silo on their part. They will know only that function. It's impossible for a user to visualize from here to here. Even for large IT teams, it becomes extremely difficult to do it, right? And let's produce meaningful insights into that. That brings us very close to uh, our most of the presentation. What I would like to say is Changes has been last 20 years have been involved in looking at all this, and then they have an entire platform which is only for data management. All the aspects which I have told you and talked about is currently available. It's called, all these tools names are different, but they are all available with Changes. And in case if you got any requirements like that, you can definitely get in touch with me or Vishnu or anybody in Changes. And with that, I think we can move on to our Q&A.
Absolutely, Rajendran. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. So we'll go ahead and take some time for the questions now. Just a reminder, please be sure to type your questions in the question box in your control panel. So I think we've got one question, Rajendran, here. So both SAP and Oracle offers tools and utilize for data migration. Why can't we use the same?
Yes. The vendors, obviously, the ERP vendors have got typically offer much, much more than what you really require. That is, on one side it's an advantage, and another side is a disadvantage. The advantage is, yes, we have got tools for everything. You talk about every single functionality on any vertical they have, including data migration they have got, because that is the way the product is built. Over a period of time, they collect all these things. These are all customers needed. They've seen all the implementation. What those tools will work, the tools will work fine within SAP to SAP or within Oracle to Oracle. I'm not talking about even an older system, just like an upgrade, or they will also work only for a very small volume. They will not do so many validations and verifications. It's impossible for them to do. And they do not interfere into JD Edwards or other things. For example, Changes has got built-in templates. They give me a number, which is a very huge number, practically templates for every single thing which you can talk about, templates for JD Edwards, EBS, Oracle, S4HANA, C4HANA, and all those things, Microsoft Dynamics and all. So they have been onto that. So in terms of from extracting from the source, you'll be able to extract from multiple sources. That is possible, right? And in terms of validation, it's possible too. Most importantly, it's not only the tools, they have the expertise and which they have developed over a period of time to understand the importance of your data in your destination, and they will like to work with you right from there to that, which obviously the tool will not do. I have nothing about the vendors offering is fine, because that's what they keep on offering more and more, but to use that tool alone is not enough, because there is a lot of hidden things behind what is the meaning of the data, right? How do you value the data? That valuing the data is requires, and that expertise is something you cannot just gain it just like that. It comes over a period of time. I'm able to talk this after my 30 years of spending in ERP and CRM.
Absolutely, sir. Yeah, I think you have nailed it actually. So any other questions? You can go ahead and. All right, just let's wait for a minute and then probably we can cover it up.
Yeah. And also, for all the participants, you can send them the recording. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And it looks like we have covered up all our questions here, Rajendran. And is there anything else you wanted to cover before wrap up today?
this is fine.
All right. So absolutely, thank you.
Feel free to get in touch with us, because we do not want to see that as a data. We want to see it as a whole. that your destination, whichever is Oracle or SAP, you have an excellent applications to use for. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rajendran, and thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here, and we will also email you the recording, as Rajendran said. And thank you once again for joining us today. And we will see you next time. And until and then, be safe and be healthy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.